Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mo, and I am here to give the introduction for our webinar of deciding where to go, organizing your search, and finding the best fit. Education USA, we will be starting the webinar off and giving a brief introduction. And then we will be hearing from representatives from the University of Florida, University of Oregon, University of Colorado-Boulder, University of Wisconsin-Madison, and the University of Missouri. So this webinar is geared or is focused on undergraduate more than graduate, but a lot of the information they're giving is applicable for students who are trying to choose graduate programs as well. So if you are joining us and you're more interested in a graduate, don't worry, this is still great information for you. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. At any point in the webinar, if you have a question, please send your question in the chat to me, Q&A, Education USA Costa Rica, as our representatives will be busy presenting, and it's a little distracting when they get all the messages sent to them, and I will be organizing the questions to ask at the very end. So today's agenda, the first thing we're going to do in a second is take a poll so we can see where everyone is joining us from. Then I'm going to explain what Education USA is, go over some frequently asked questions, our services, and more. Very brief explanation of the US higher education system. And then I will be handing the microphone over to our lovely representatives so that they can give their presentation on how to organize your search, find the best fit, and ultimately decide where you want to go to school. And then at the very end, these 5 institutions will briefly talk about the schools that they represent so you can get a better feel. And then we will open the floor to questions. So the first thing we're going to do right now is you should see on your screen a poll that says, where are you joining us from? So the options are from the greater metropolitan area, which in Spanish you guys call it the GAM, Limón, Punta Arenas, Guanacaste, or the 4 provinces, but you're not in the center of the city in the greater metropolitan area. So we're going to let a few seconds for all of you to vote to see if we have some geographic diversity today. And remember, you can always send all of your questions to me via chat. Okay, so the majority of us are in the center of the country, in the greater metropolitan area, but I am very excited to see we also have representation from other provinces and other areas of the country. So very good, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. This is also being recorded, so if you want to watch it again, you can email us at educationusa@centrocultural.cr, which I will put in the chat in a second, and you can ask for the link for the recording. So moving forward, what is Education USA? So Education USA is a network of advising centers that we have, and we are supported and sponsored by the US government. So we're offering free, up-to-date, and unbiased information on the US higher education system, and we're helping international students apply to study in the United States. It can be at the bachelor's level, the master's level, the PhD level, whatever it may be, we're here to help you. In Costa Rica, we're located in the Centro Cultural, sorry, I was looking for my logo, the Centro Cultural Costarricense Norteamericano, in the San Pedro branch. However, right now we are working from home because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So if you try to visit us in San Pedro, we will not be there, but you can reach out to us and hopefully we can have some kind of Zoom meeting to talk about your application process. Whenever we have a webinar, we like to go over some frequently asked questions that often come to us in Education USA. The first one being if we have scholarships. Education USA is not a scholarship program. We are an educational advising program. So we cannot finance your education, but we can help explain which universities can give you funding or point you in the direction of hopefully getting more funding, but we cannot fund your education in the United States. Another common question is if there are any opportunities to improve your English. If you are looking to start an academic program, like a bachelor's, master's, or PhD, you should already have an advanced level of English. However, many universities and colleges also have intensive English programs where you can go to the university and take English classes and really immerse yourself in the culture. Another question that we commonly get in Education USA is if we can help you find short-term study abroad programs like a cultural exchange We in Education USA focus on the services offered by U.S. universities and colleges. So we tend to focus on intensive English programs, academic programs, and maybe certificate or short-term programs. So if you're looking for a cultural 2-week program, we can suggest other programs that we know of that help with that, but we focus more on the services that the universities offer and helping you guys go to study in the United States. Also, there's a question oftentimes about internships. We cannot help you do an internship by itself in the United States, but I do like to mention that if you study in the United States with a student visa, which is the F1 visa, after you graduate, you can extend your visa with a program that is called the OPT, Optional Practical Training. And with the OPT, you can work legally for 1 year in the United States using the knowledge that you just got from your degree, right? So that's a very cool extension of the F1 student visa. And finally, a common question that we get is if we have partnerships or agreements with specific U.S. colleges and universities. We do not. We represent all 4,700 universities and colleges in the United States. We are working with these 5 awesome institutions today to go over this topic, but that does not mean that we are only sending Costa Ricans to these institutions. We are helping all of you find the best university for you in terms of your academic goals and your personal goals. So moving forward, what do we do in Education USA is often a question we get after going over the last slide. So we help you apply and get to the universities and colleges in the United States, dividing the process in 5 steps. The first step would be researching your options, understanding the search engines, understanding the types of institutions that we have, understanding the types of financial aid. And then step 2, we discuss how you plan to finance your education. Are you looking for generous scholarships? Can your parents pay for part of your education? Are you considering taking out a loan? This is all things that we talk about. And step 3 is probably the longest step. It is actually completing your application. Applying to U.S. universities and colleges is a much longer and more complicated process than applying to universities in Costa Rica. You will be required to take standardized tests, write lots of essays, ask for letters of recommendation, turn in documents about your high school. And so we are there to help you in every single one of those steps where you may be a little bit confused. And step 4, once you have been admitted to a university and you have decided where you want to go, then we help you as you apply for your visa. We cannot guarantee that you will get your visa, but we explain the exact steps you need to take, where and when you need to pay, and what kinds of questions you may be asked in the interview so that you have the best chance of getting that student visa. And finally, step 5, every year in June or July, we have a pre-departure orientation where we prepare the students who are going to leave in August and September to start their studies. And we explain cultural differences, what they can buy in Costa Rica versus what they should maybe wait to buy in the United States. And I remind you that all of our educational advising services are free, right? We do not charge for these services. So important to keep in mind. Really quickly, just to mention the higher education system in the United States, because it's different than in Costa Rica. In the United States, our high school degree takes 4 years, and we graduate with our high school diploma. And in the United States, it's 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade, okay? A little different to some schools in Costa Rica. Then after high school, the next step is to pursue an undergraduate degree, which we have associate's degrees, which are 2-year degrees, and bachelor's degrees, which are 4-year degrees. A bachelor degree is like a bachillerato universitario in Costa Rica. Then following that, you can pursue graduate studies, which would be a master's or a doctoral or a postdoctoral program. And some doctoral programs do not require a master's. So some people can go directly from a bachelor's into a doctoral program, which is a little different than the process in Costa Rica. The different types of bachelor's degrees that you can see in the United States, there's bachelor's of arts, which would be like a bachelor's of arts in philosophy, a bachelor's of science, so a bachelor's of science in civil engineering, and bachelor's of fine arts, which is more of an art degree, like a bachelor's of fine arts in ceramics. These take 4 years to complete. right? And that is because you have general education classes. So you're going to have to take some math classes, science classes, English classes, psychology classes. And you also have to take a lot of classes that are directly related to your major, which is your carrera in Spanish, your area of study, right? There are different options to getting your bachelor's degree. The first option is to apply to and begin your studies at a four-year institution and then finish them at the same institution. So for example, I started my university at Ohio State University and I finished in 4 years, okay? The other option is to go to a community college first and then transfer to a four-year institution to earn the bachelor's degree, which is something my brother did. My brother went to a community college near our house for 2 years, and then he transferred to a four-year institution and did 2 more years and finished his bachelor's. So these are two different options you have to getting a bachelor's degree. Some people may not know what a community college is. So community college are 2-year public institutions where you can take your general education credits at a more reasonable or a lower price and then transfer to a 4-year institution. So if you're a visual learner like me, I drew a little box, a little visual design here. The idea would be to do your first 2 years in a community college, which are going to be your general classes like Calculus 1, Calculus 2, if you're going to go into something with math, right? Get those classes finished so that when you transfer and go to a four-year institution to finish your degree, you're going to focus on the courses that are required for your specific area of study. And these 4 years together will give you your bachelor's degree. So now it's my great pleasure to hand over the microphone and hand over the space to our lovely representatives from these 5 institutions. I remind you guys to please send me your questions in the chat, and I will be jumping back in at the very end to ask those questions to our representatives. Thanks, guys, and good luck.
Great, thank you, Mo, and thank you everyone for joining us today and giving us this opportunity to speak with you all on this topic of deciding where to go, organizing your search, and finding the right fit. Before we get started in the content, we want to briefly introduce ourselves. So to kick things off, I will go first. My name is Shannon O'Hagan, and I represent the University of Missouri, which is located centrally in the US in Columbia, Missouri. Aisha?
Hi, everyone. My name is Aisha Wong, and I work at the University of Florida, which is located in beautiful Gainesville, Florida.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sam Thompson, and I'm an admissions counselor with the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Kim, and I'm with the University of Colorado-Boulder.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Lorenzo Wilcox, and I'm an international admissions counselor at the University of Oregon. And if we go to the next slide, I can go ahead and just give you a brief overview as to why we've all decided to come together and present to you today. Part of the presentation, you will hear about many different things that make universities unique, right? And how you can take those characteristics and really narrow down the list based on your preferences. But today we wanted to share, some of the characteristics that we all share as universities. And one of them is we all happen to represent the flagship universities of our state, of our particular region. Flagship universities are usually the first founded of a particular state, but also the ones with the highest research profile and research activity. We are actually all part of top tier 1 research institutions. So as we go on and tell you about our institutions later on, you will hear about how we use research as part of our academic programs. We all happen to be part of the Association of American Universities as well, or the AAU, which is a highly selected group of 65 universities in North America. About half of them are public institutions. And these universities really conduct exceptional research on their campuses and have top-ranked academic programs. So we're really fortunate to be part of this group. And finally, we all have Division I athletics on our campuses. And Division I is the highest level of intercollegiate competition in the US. The other good news with that is that you can usually get scholarships from a Division I sport as well. So that's just a little bit of what we have in common. And here on the next slide, we wanted to make this presentation a little interactive. And so we do have a poll question coming up on your screens here soon. but let's see who was paying attention to what Mo was saying. But how many universities do you think there are in the US? Roughly. So go ahead and vote, select. Hopefully you can see the, okay, now you should be able to see it, yes. Okay, there we go. So yes, most of you were paying attention. No, great. So we do have, more than 4,000 colleges and universities in the US, which is a crazy amount when you think of how can you go about the college search process. But we're hoping that the information that we're going to provide you throughout the presentation might help you in giving you some tips as to how to get started, how to narrow down that list of 4,000 into your #1 dream school. So if we go to the next slide, I can go ahead and tell you, how universities in the US might be the same. So first, I think Mo also touched on general education. And one thing that you'll notice is that the majority of the degrees in US universities will not only teach you like your area of expertise, right? If you want to study business, you will not only just take business courses, but you will also take what we call general education courses or requirements, which really give you a lot of flexibility. For example, if you want to change your major at some point, or if you are undecided at the moment, you always have that flexibility to explore different courses and really not waste time in the process, because any course that you would take would count towards any degree that you would eventually choose to get. So general education can be arts and letters, social sciences, natural sciences, and usually all degrees will have some sort of general education requirements attached to them. Also, all universities will have opportunities for involvement outside of the classroom. I think American universities are very well known for having a good balance between class time and also student engagement. So clubs, organizations, club sports, different things like that, and opportunities for students to build their community outside of class and get involved in different clubs and organizations that might be of interest to you. And finally, all universities will offer a variety of student services such as academic advising, career counseling, tutoring, whatever it might be, to really ensure that your experience in that particular institution will be as successful as it can be. So those are just some things that universities have in common. And on the next slide, I can go ahead and talk to you about how universities differ. And there's a lot of different factors to take into consideration when you begin looking at colleges. The first is, maybe the most obvious, whether public or private institutions. Public institutions are usually mostly funded by the state. Private institutions might have different endowment funds and things like that. So that might be a different institution that you can choose. The other main thing is location, and location includes climate as well as the environment or the setting that the university is in. So climate, if you hate the snow, or you want to be close to the beach or whatever it might be, these are great things to know and to be aware of as you go in and look for colleges, because the US is a huge country. We have many different regions. It has so much to offer. Like each region has a separate climate and just different settings and environments that you can experience. So if you already know that you like the heat or you like, different things like that, and those are your preferences, and that's great, because it will help you narrow down that list. But there's also, urban, suburban, or rural campuses. If you want to be in a huge city, you might want to look into an urban college. If you want to be the more suburban and kind of best of both worlds type setting, you might look for institutions that are in college towns. And all of our institutions are in what we would call a classic college town, which has a lot to offer, especially for students. And a lot of the things in that city revolve around the university. The other factor is size. So we have small, medium, large institutions. Small institutions might be less than 5,000. Let's say medium can go up to 15,000, but large usually goes, above 15,000. All of us happen to be part of large institutions here as well. And then there's many types of institutions. I think Mo touched on community colleges a little bit, but that is one main type of institution that you can find here in the US, but also research universities, which we all happen to be, just universities that really focus on research as a main component of academic programs. Regional institutions, so basically institutions that might be really well known in a particular region of the US, liberal arts colleges, which tend to be smaller than research institutions. There are universities that are religiously affiliated, and polytechnic institutes as well, which might offer a different set of academic programs. And finally, there's the admission factor. So you might have, a school with open admissions. Usually community colleges have this type of admission for you to get, those 2 years in and then transfer to a 4-year institution. But there's also other types of admissions such as threshold, which, might say, if you have a GPA above a 3.3, you can apply, but if it's below, it might not be, the school for you. It really depends. A lot of universities have varying admission requirements, or there might be holistic review admission institutions, which we all happen to do. And basically holistic review would really take into consideration your academic factors, but also your personal factors to ensure that perfect fit with the institution. And finally, just it's always good to research once you choose a university, so you know what to expect with regards to materials that you need to hand in for the application component. Like, do you need to mail official transcripts? Do you need to take English proficiency exams? Things like that. But this is just a little bit of the factors that make universities unique and different across the US. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to my colleague, Sarah.
Wonderful. So thank you, Lorenzo, for that overview. And hopefully for all of you who are getting started right now, you are excited at this point in the process. We hope that you are having fun getting to know yourself a little bit better and to research a little bit more. But if we can head to the next slide, some of the things that we want you to ask yourself at the beginning of the process is we really encourage you to get to know yourself, get to know the universities, and then really find the right match. That is our desire for you, not to sell you anything today on any of our individual universities, but really truly helping guide students to find a place where they can have the most fulfilling student experience. So know yourself as you are beginning this process. We want you to get reflective. And if you have some questions, and you need that extra support, I think EducationUSA in Costa Rica, having Mo there and making sure that you're tapping into those resources at your schools, and then all of the admission counselors here today would love to connect with you to make sure that we can help you in this reflection for yourself. And then get to know the universities by attending sessions like the ones you are today. Each of our universities also host different virtual events, and hopefully soon we'll all be able to host some on-campus, in-person events safely as well, where we would love to see your lovely faces again and get to know if they offer the programs that you're looking for. Get to know when you are looking at the universities, what are those other things other than academics that are really going to contribute to a fulfilling experience? And hopefully all of this will lead you to finding the right fit. And there's not just one right fit for you. There will be multiple. And then you'll have the opportunity to select from all of those many options. Next slide. Thank you. So again, some more specific initial questions to ask yourself. Why do you want to attend university? In addition to getting that degree, which will hopefully open up plenty of doors after graduation for you in terms of career prospects, why do you want to attend university? Who do you want to get to know? What kind of connections do you want to make? What kind of personal and professional development would you like to gain in the next 4 years? If you are attending a 4-year university, graduate school, in that time, what do you want to gain? And why do you want to attend university specifically in the United States? Today, we heard from Mo a little bit about OPT and CPT opportunities for students to stay on their student visa and work in the United States. Is it internships? Is it to travel? Really get real about that part. Why do you want to go and attend university in the United States? And what do you expect from your college experience? Again, yes, learning, studying, that should be at the top of your list, but that's not it. There's plenty more that can contribute to your time here while you are studying. So what are those things that you're really excited about and looking forward to? And then what is your learning style? What we really want students to think about is, what opportunities and support resources do you need in order to be successful? And can these schools offer those support resources for you to have the most success wherever you go? So really get real about your learning style and what you need to learn the best and learn the most. Next slide, please. Wonderful. Now I'm going to hand it off to my colleague. So hopefully you have a lot of good questions to think about.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. So we've just told you how big the US is and that you're going to have to eventually narrow down your list. And it might seem overwhelming because of the number of institutions. So we wanted to just do a quick poll here to kind of get an idea of what resources are you relying on to find information out about your universities, which you should be able to see now to kind of get an idea of what you turn to. And feel free to vote for more than one. A wide variety of things thus far. Awesome. It's good to see EducationUSA is up there a lot. Awesome. So the websites definitely, that's great that you're turning to those virtual events like these, social media, of course, and EducationUSA. But what we want to talk about first is rankings, because students a lot of time, I think, focus maybe first when they're looking at universities on rankings and what that might mean, because they think that maybe a highly ranked institution is automatically a better institution. But we are here to tell you that rankings don't tell the full story about a university. Because we have 4,000 institutions in this country, if you're automatically searching for institutions that are in like the top 100 in the United States, you're then cutting out 3,900 other wonderful institutions that could be a really great fit for you. Ranking methodologies also vary greatly, and we have different types of rankings and ranking organizations, many of whom are run by for-profit businesses that rely on these rankings to give you more information about institutions. You can kind of see two examples down there, the US News and World Report ranking, as well as Forbes magazine. These rankings also, some of them report on very subjective themes. So they might be talking to students on whether or not they feel satisfied at the institution. They might be asking alumni if they feel like they got a prestigious education from the institution they attend as part of the ranking. And that's a very subjective theme. It's not using objective research potentially to gauge how well the institution actually fits the student that's attending them. And they're often comparing apples to oranges. So there are lots of different institutions in the US, and you can't necessarily compare all the universities together, like a regional institution compared to a large research institution on the same level, because they offer different types of education. So we just want you to be wary and be critical when you're looking at rankings to get a sense of whether or not you feel like that university might be a good fit for you. So we're going to talk a little bit more about fit now.
Yeah, so we just heard from Sam that maybe rankings are not the best indicator to use when figuring out, which university might be the university where you want to spend your education. And so instead of rankings, what should we really be using? And you've probably heard us several times throughout the course of this presentation. Probably if you've been considering US schools for quite some time, you've probably also heard it several times before this, but the word fit. When we're describing what you should be looking for when you're, navigating that college search process. And so what is fit exactly? What does that mean? And what that is that ensuring that the institution you select matches up with your desires and your expectations for your college experience. So like Sarah mentioned earlier, a lot of this really is a matchmaking experience. You are trying to figure out what it is that you're desiring out of your college experience and where you want to head into the future, and the ways that the university can kind of meet those qualities qualities or those requirements. So on this next slide, you'll see that when you're researching institutions, there are going to be a ton of different qualities to look at. Universities are extremely unique, and they offer a wide variety of opportunities for their students, both academically and non-academically. But a very good place to typically start is going to be with the mission and vision that that university has. And I say that because the mission and vision statements often paint a picture for you of what the university's priorities are, and also maybe what that campus culture might look like at that particular institution. Those can be important factors when you're trying to figure out whether or not, university-wise, that's a good fit for you based on what your priorities are and what you want out of that college experience. Next, you can kind of break down the qualities in further to kind of help yourself organize it. So on this next slide, you'll see we've taken these qualities and we've broken them down into academic qualities, personal qualities, and professional qualities. And those qualities will help you kind of figure out what the right match is for you university-wise. So of course, it's important to look at the academic factors. Does the institution offer the academic programs that you're looking for? And if you're unsure of what you want to study, does it have a wide variety of options for you to then explore? How accessible is the faculty? Will they be there to support you? Do they have office hours? Will they be able to answer your questions in class or out of class? And also, of course, class size can be important. So especially if you're coming from maybe a smaller class size environment in high school or a larger classroom environment in high school, you might have a preference as far as what sort of learning environment you prefer to be in. So you might want to look at the student to faculty ratio and the average class size at that campus to see whether or not that learning environment is going to work to meet your needs. If that's something that's important to your academic success, if these are things that are going to be valuable to you through your college experience, you want to explore whether or not these institutions kind of make those accessible to you and offer those qualities. Another thing to consider is going to be what that personal and lived experience might look like on that campus. So you're not just studying at a university, you're also living there for 4 years. And so you are going to be building a life on that campus. And potentially even beyond that, if you decide to pursue a graduate program or maybe work at that university in the future, or stay in that town. So if you do prefer a fast-paced environment, you might look for a university that's located in a really large city or an urban environment. Maybe if you enjoy the outdoors or being in a natural environment, you will look for universities that have a lot of green space or are maybe more suburban or rural. So you kind of want to figure out what you're looking for as far as what sorts of activities you might also do on that campus and how that campus can provide those opportunities to you in that particular environment. If you're a very active person, you have been for a long time and you are really focused on service, or maybe you're focused on socializing, you want to make sure that the campus can kind of meet those needs, and maybe they have a lot of student organizations to get involved in, or their students are especially outgoing. So it is, again, important to look at not just the academic part of the equation, but also the lifestyle part of the equation on that campus. And of course, lastly, you want to be looking at professional opportunities that are available on that campus. Because the end goal here, of course, is to earn that degree and then move on and begin your career and start the rest of your life. And so hopefully that campus is providing you with a network and a lot of opportunities to kind of get on that path. Internships are going to be a major component of your college experience, hopefully. And so you want to make sure that those opportunities exist on that campus and are readily accessible to you. Do they have a career connection center, a career resource center that you can take advantage of? What does the alumni network look like for that campus or for that institution? And how can you take advantage of those things? Does that support structure exist to kind of help you make your way not only into the institution, but also out of the institution and into your future as well? And so on the next slide, I do want to provide you with some tips for researching universities. Since you're here right now with us, you've already kind of taken that first step into researching universities, and you'll see on that second bullet point right there that you are attending a virtual event. So you've taken that first step. You're obviously invested kind of in this search process and figuring out where you kind of fit into this picture university-wise. But there's a lot of other resources that you can take advantage of. Of course, exploring websites and joining social media and adding those pages for those institutions is a good way to get get a glimpse into what life might be like on that campus. But for me, one of the biggest things is going to be connecting with currently enrolled students. I think that is a very invaluable way to kind of learn more about the realities of a campus and what that environment is like and who you might be studying alongside in the future. So many of our offices do have student ambassador programs, or some of our colleges or academic programs will have their own student ambassador programs. And you can reach out to us or them to kind of make those connections with currently enrolled students and ask them, you know, what was your college experience? What's your college experience like on that campus? And what are the types of things that you're doing or eating or seeing while you're there? And really get a feel for that campus climate for yourself. And of course, lastly, there's us. So we're here for you guys to answer any questions you have about our institutions or just the college process in general. It can seem very overwhelming. We're saying we have this many institutions with this many qualities. So please utilize us as a resource, of course, along with EducationUSA, to kind of help you narrow down your choices and explore all of your options thoroughly. And I'm going to go ahead and pass along to Shannon to talk a little bit more about FIT.
Thanks, Aisha. So far we have really tried to highlight a few things in this overall process. One of those is that the U.S. higher education system is incredibly diverse. You have tons of options out there, and there's a lot of factors for you to consider when you are exploring different universities. So Aisha did a great job there of giving some tips on how to really do that information gathering and things to look at when you are exploring universities. But we know that that can be a little bit of an intimidating process. So I now want to talk a little bit about how you can narrow down from that broader list of options to a select number of universities that will be a good fit for you and the ones you want to choose to apply to. So one of the things that is helpful in this process is to write down what is important to you in that search process. So as you are developing a tool to organize your search, we often recommend creating a spreadsheet, for example, where you can kind of combine all of this information. And as you are adding details about different universities, you can have different columns for different categories, and you'll start to see different factors that will stand out to you as being particularly important. And as you do this, it's important to involve other decision makers in that process. So your parents, for example, because they might have a different perspective and they might be able to help you look at additional factors that might not be initially obvious to you. And once you have this kind of broad list of options, you can then decide which factors are especially important to you, and then use that spreadsheet or other resource to help compare and contrast one university to another. And from this will help you to narrow down those universities that are emerging as being strong choices to you in your search process. And so by doing this, you can essentially create your own ranking order, your own ranked list. Instead of using ranking systems provided by third parties, you can kind of use your own ranking system to develop a shorter list of universities. And I think a big thing to keep in mind is to allow for some flexibility in that. Allow for your preferences to change as you learn more about universities and about yourself, and keep an open mind in that process, because you might have a specific university in mind or a specific location in mind. And as you learn more, that might change, and that's okay. So as you are going through that process, there are a number of resources to help you. So we have already highlighted EducationUSA. They're an exceptional resource for you, and they have specific resources and worksheets you might be able to do to help identify some of those key factors that are important to you. You can also use online resources and databases to explore different universities. So here's a list of some of the different types of resources you can use as you are exploring universities that are out there, especially in that information gathering stage. One thing I do like to point out is that it's a good idea to use more than one resource as you are gathering information, and to keep in mind that university websites do tend to be the most reliable sources of information. In some cases, some of those third-party sites might not be 100% up to date, so you'll just want to double check information with the university itself. So these are our final tips for this overall process of exploring and narrowing down. And one of those tips is to plan ahead. So you'll find in the US that many universities will open their application about a year in advance of the term you wish to study. So for example, at my university, our application opens on August 1st for the following year. And so you have time. You certainly don't have to apply right when the application opens, but you do have time now to start exploring and looking at other universities so that you prepare for that actual application process. And as you are developing that spreadsheet or other tool that you use, it's a good thing to include deadlines for different universities, because you will see that that timeline will vary somewhat from one university to another. Something I also kind of highlighted when I was talking about this transition to this section was the amount of data or the amount of details that you can come by as you're entering this process. And that's something that can be a little bit overwhelming, but just take it one step at a time. So look at it as kind of a funnel where you start with big information and then work your way down as your priorities emerge. And consider a variety of universities from the start. So you'll look at different things, try on different things for size, and then start to narrow down your list. Something else that's important to be aware of is terminology. So you will find different terminology in the US. For example, we say undergraduate, meaning a 4-year bachelor's degree, graduate being master's and PhD programs. We know this is terminology that can sometimes vary for different countries. So as you're asking questions of universities, just become familiar with the terminology used, but never be afraid to ask questions. If you're not sure about a process or requirement or anything else about the university, always reach out to us, because we're here to help and help guide you through that process. And then, as Sarah had mentioned previously, there is more than one good fit. That's the good thing about this process, and exploring different options and narrowing down the factors that are especially important to you. You'll find that there are many universities where you can be successful and be happy throughout your university experience. And so you can apply to more than one university, knowing that you have done the work and done the research to identify universities that are going to be particularly strong for your interests. And once again, keep an open mind as you go through this process, because you might be surprised by what you discover as you do explore the many different options to study in the US. So that wraps up kind of the content portion of our presentation on the topic itself. And we now want to go into very brief university introductions for each of us. And then we will have a Q&A section where we'll open it up to questions from you all that you can put into the chat. You'll see that Mo's name is changed to Q&A, so you can send those to her, and then we will open that up to Q&A. Or if you send them to us, we will answer them as well. So with that, I will turn it over to Aisha.
Thanks, Shannon. So once again, my name is Aisha Wong, and I represent the University of Florida. And the University of Florida is the oldest and one of the largest institutions within the state of Florida. We do boast a student population of a little over 55,000 students, about 35,000 of which are undergraduate students. And they represent every single county in the state of Florida, every single state in the US, and about 131 countries across the globe. So they really are this very diverse group of individuals who kind of all share this common goal of getting the best education that they possibly can right here in Gainesville, Florida with us. And Gainesville is located in north central Florida. It's about an hour and a half north of Orlando, about an hour and a half south of Jacksonville. It is a college town environment. So a lot of what happens in this city does revolve around campus and the university itself, which means that it's generally a pretty safe place and friendly place to be. We care a lot about our students here, and pretty much there's a large sense of community and a sense of family if you're here with us in the Gator Nation, as we call it. It is warm and sunny here in Florida almost year round, so we're very lucky to have a wonderful climate. So our students enjoy a lot of outdoor activities like hiking, biking, swimming in our fresh clear water springs that we're known for here in this area, but also enjoying dance, theater, and our wonderful food culture that we have here in the city of Gainesville. The University of Florida has over 200 undergraduate programs, over 200 graduate programs. Sorry about that, guys, getting tongue-tied. And pretty much all of the professional course offerings. So a med school, law school, pharmacy, physical therapy, nursing, dentistry, things like that. My favorite program here on campus is going to be our program that combines medical studies and the arts. Right now, that program has a group of students that are working on art projects for individuals who are recovering from COVID-19 here in our hospital on campus. So they have a wonderful way of giving back to our community here in Gainesville and giving back to our campus. I think it's a really unique program to take, both art and music and combine it with medicine. So I love seeing those students here on our campus with us. We also have great programs in engineering and the liberal arts and sciences as well, and a pretty wide breadth overall. So if you're not sure what you want to study, you'll be able to probably find it here on this campus. We also offer a very active student involvement life. Over 1,000 student organizations take advantage of, everything from our robotics team to our skydiving team. There's a way to get involved no matter what you have an interest in on our campus. And then once you're ready to leave our campus, our Career Connection Center will help you with locating internships and job opportunities, reviewing your resume, performing mock interviews, just overall being very comprehensive and playing a large role in kind of helping you make that transition out. And our alumni network is huge, over 400,000 living alumni spread across the globe. So again, it is a feeling of family, and anywhere that you go in the world, you'll probably encounter a Gator and connect with them immediately and connect with that shared experience. So hopefully at some point I'll be able to welcome some of you into our family and onto our campus, even if it is just for a short visit. And I'll go ahead and I'll pass it along to the next person.
Great, and I am pleased to introduce you all to the University of Missouri, which is commonly called by our nickname of Mizzou. And we are located centrally in the US, in the state of Missouri and the city of Columbia, which is another great college town that you'll see as a consistent theme across our universities. At Mizzou, we have about 30,000 students, including international students from more than 100 countries. We also have 300-degree programs from bachelor's through PhD. What we're most well known for is journalism, but some of our other strong areas are in STEM fields and business, as well as some more of the creative fields. One of the things that I will just briefly highlight is our approach to learning, which we call the Missouri method, and that means learning by doing. So you'll find lots of opportunities to gain hands-on experiences and things like research, internships, entrepreneurial projects, and student competition groups. Just a little bit about Mizzou. I will follow up in the chat with a little more, a link to our website, as well as a link for all of our universities.
Wonderful, thank you. So I am Sarah Kim and I'm with the University of Colorado-Boulder. And Colorado is nestled in the Rocky Mountains, or at least our campus is. And we do have 12 mountain resorts less than 2 hours away. And so we are a really big skiing and snowboarding community. A few days ago, we had 3 feet of snow, and less than 24 hours later, we had blue skies and sunshine. So even though we are located in the mountains, we do have all 4 seasons and over 300 days of sunshine. So that is something that we really love here in Colorado. At the University of Colorado-Boulder, we have about 30,000 students, and about 25,000 of them are undergraduate students. The remaining 5,000 are graduate students who are pursuing their master's and PhD programs. For those of you who are interested in any of the PhD programs at the University of Colorado-Boulder, I do want you to know that they are fully funded. So those will be paid for if you are gaining admission into any of our PhD programs. But we have 7 different colleges and schools on one campus. We have, just to highlight a couple, the College of Arts and Sciences, which is our largest college. We have over 50 majors just in that college, and we have 5 Nobel Prize winners in the college. So 4 in physics, 1 in chemistry. We have some of the best programs in physics, geological sciences, and then ceramics. If you're really into art, that happens to be one of our most popular programs that we have. We also have the College of Engineering. And as Lorenzo mentioned, we have some incredible research facilities kind of all across all of our universities that are represented here from the AAU. And as public schools, I think we offer some of the best engineering programs, but we all offer slightly different things. So if you are a student who's interested in STEM, all of our schools are really great options for you. And for example, we have one of the top public colleges for engineering and applied science. But I know that Sam over in Wisconsin-Madison has like the #2 nuclear engineering program. And unfortunately, we don't have nuclear engineering. But one thing that we are known for is aerospace engineering. And so we have one of the top aerospace engineering programs with over 20 astronauts that went up into space from our particular college, including the first Indian woman to go up into space, and my personal hero, Kalpanachala. We also have a business program, an architecture program, a school of music, a school of education, you name it. We have plenty of programs for you to look into at the University of Colorado-Boulder. And right now it's March Madness, which is a really big basketball season for us, and we'll be in the tournament. So if you see us, cheer for the Buffs.
Hi everyone, my name is Sam Thompson. I'm here to introduce the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So just three things that I kind of want to touch on that make UW-Madison unique. First and foremost is location. So we are located in the city of Madison, home to about 250,000 residents. It's 2 hours north of Chicago. It is the capital of the state of Wisconsin, and the university itself is located right downtown. But we are in an isthmus. We're surrounded by 2 lakes, so we have hundreds of miles of hiking and biking trails. You kind of get the best of both worlds if you're looking for both that cosmopolitan and nature mix. The second thing is the Wisconsin idea. So this is the guiding principle of our institution. What it basically means is that we believe the benefits of an education should extend beyond the classroom. So all of our students are going to have lots of opportunities for hands-on experience in their academics. If you're looking for opportunities for interdisciplinary study, double majoring, top-notch faculty, and research, we are a wonderful institution for you with 125 majors and 70 certificates across 8 schools and colleges. The Wisconsin idea really extends past academics into our student life. Students are highly engaged on our campus, lots of different organizations, including our Badger Cheese Club, where students just get together and eat cheese. But if you don't like cheese, we have a lactose intolerant club and lots of different things with arts, athletics, internships, and different ways to be involved on campus. And the last thing I'll mention is Badger family. We are the Wisconsin Badgers. Bucky Badger is our mascot. We take lots of pride in school spirit. You will see Badgers all over the world because we have over 440,000 living alumni who really want to help our campus and stay engaged with students while they are studying at the university.
All right. Hi, everyone. Lorenzo again. I'll be brief, but just wanted to introduce the University of Oregon really quickly. Again, we are located in the city of Eugene, Oregon, which is in the Pacific Northwest of the US, so we're right above California. We're 1 hour away from the Pacific on one side and 1 hour away from mountains on the other side, from the Cascade Mountains. So it is really a great and dynamic location to study in because you have multiple environments. If you like the outdoors, if you like more the suburban lifestyle, you can find both around Eugene. We have a total of around 23,000 students, which includes undergrad and graduate, and students representing 101 countries this year. So I'm glad to see that diversity is increasing for sure. We are most well known for programs like sports business, journalism, architecture, law, marine biology as well. And we really focus a lot on research and really giving you not only a great education, but also internship opportunities and other undergraduate research opportunities that you can put on your resume so that you can become more competitive for that career of your choice. So that's just a little bit about the U of O, and I think now we like to open it up for some Q&A if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you so much for that information. We do definitely have some questions. There's one that I wanted to answer from the beginning just to make sure everyone understands. Someone asked, what does an 18:1 student to faculty ratio mean? So in the United States, there are a lot of large institutions and people often worry that the classes will be really big for people or 300 people. So when you see those ratios, they are saying that if there's one teacher in the room, there's normally 18 students in the classroom, right? Or if it's a 16:1, that means when there's one teacher in the room, then there's 16 students in the classroom, right? So that is the normal thing. So question, and you guys can decide who's going to answer these because I don't have any preference. We don't have any university specific questions, but rather more general questions that I think you could all answer. Someone wants to know, how are universities working in the United States right now with COVID-19? Are they doing virtual classes, hybrid classes? How is that working?
I'd be happy to kick that off, and then anyone else is welcome to join. You will find a variety of different ways different universities have responded, and some of that is dependent upon location and how things are going, at the local level. You will find across US universities that there has been a lot of work done in coordination with local health departments, for example, local experts, state experts, federal guidance to develop policies and procedures that are the best for their campus environment. So for example, some universities are, fully remote currently, some have more of a hybrid model, and you are seeing more universities coming out in terms of announcing their plans for the fall or what they're striving to do, whether that is mostly in person or still anticipating somewhat of a hybrid. So you will see quite a variety across the US in terms of what universities are doing, but you will also find that most universities now have a web page dedicated to that response where they post updates and information about those different measures that are being done and what some of those goals are that they're working towards.
Awesome.
Anyone else?
Thank you so much. So somebody would like to know, what resources can I use if I want to get a better idea for the personality of a university, like what my other classmates will be like?
Yeah, I can take this one. I kind of touched on it a little bit during the presentation that I think generally it's a really good idea to, if you can, kind of connect with currently enrolled students, because those will be your classmates or similar to your classmates if you enroll at that institution, and they're living the experience that you will live eventually if you enroll at that institution. So it's good to get a firsthand account of what life is like on that campus, and even better, get multiple firsthand accounts and talk to a lot of different types of students that might be enrolled at that institution to get their perspectives, their personal perspectives about the campus. I also highly encourage you to, of course, if you have access to any alumni or know of anyone personally that has had an experience with that campus, to get in touch with them as well. And once things do kind of open up and hopefully go back to normal, the best thing that a student can do is visit campus. If they have the means to do so, I would highly encourage you to step feet on our actual campuses and feel out the vibe and the environment that we have on our individual campuses. These schools are really unique, and there's typically a certain energy that you might feel. That was what helped me decide where I wanted to attend, was visiting and feeling that a place was right. So that's a great way to also get an idea. And then of course, right now accessing virtual tours and doing virtual visits can be another great way, and also connecting with social media, because sometimes they'll do student features on there. They'll do like mini tours. They'll showcase different parts of the campus. They might even take you inside of a classroom and kind of share that, that information with you through those means as well.
Okay. Wonderful. I also had a student in my experience from Costa Rica. He enjoyed following the university meme pages where the students would post memes, and he very quickly kind of felt a connection with different universities from the meme pages. So that's also a suggestion for Gen Z. Next question. Sometimes I get a little overwhelmed when I see how big some universities are in the United States, especially coming from a smaller country like Costa Rica. What are some ways that I could make a big university smaller?
Ooh, I would love to take this question because even though I'm not from Costa Rica, I'm from a very, very small town in Wisconsin. Like, I graduated with 30 kids small, and I am an alum of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And before I went to this institution, that was often one of my worries was, is this going to be so huge that I can't manage? I'm used to it being smaller. Am I going to get lost? Will I just be considered a number? But institutions like ours have lots of support services in place to help you navigate, especially your first year. So I know, like with orientations, when you're coming in, there are lots of different things, and you can meet with your academic advisors to get to know people to kind of help make campus smaller. I think one of the best things that I like to say is that you can always make a big campus smaller, but you can't make a small campus bigger. And because we are large institutions, we have so many different ways that you can kind of find your own community, build your own niche, and meet others who share similar interests as you. For example, one of our really great ways that I encourage students to kind of make campus a little bit smaller is by enrolling in a first-year interest group. It's a FIG on campus. It's your first semester. You take 3 to 4 classes that all surround a theme with the same 20 students. So you're seeing the same students like you would see sometimes in high school over and over in your classes. You have a built-in support group right away. It's a way to make friends right off the bat, and you're taking classes together in an area that interests you. So that's just one example of making campus smaller. But then I also encourage students to take initiative and really kind of go outside the box and get enrolled in student organizations and get involved in things that interest you or try to learn something new, because that is a way to kind of get yourself out and about if you feel like the campus feels large. Find one thing that you are really passionate about and really enjoy and go to that student org and get involved, because you're already going to be surrounded by people who share the same interests as you. So those are two examples for me, but I know we could talk forever about this because there's lots of different ways to get involved.
Right. True. So that's also something that you should be researching when you are looking for schools, is the student organizations, student clubs, student living communities that are offered at the universities, because the ones that catch your attention are probably the ones that you would want to participate in and would make you feel like that institution is going to be your home for the next 4 years. So very good. Another question we asked we were asked, is what are the benefits for a Costa Rican student that has the International Baccalaureate certificate when they apply to your universities? So this is a common question we get in Costa Rica, because sometimes people think that you have to have the IB diploma to go to the United States. So the question is, what are the advantages for students that have the IB diploma when applying to your institutions?
Sure, I can answer this one. So the first thing that I would like to clear up is that you don't need to have an IB diploma to apply to any of our schools or gain admission to any of our schools. It's just one of the different curriculums that's out there in the world, IB, AP, Cambridge. We see many hundreds of different curriculums all around the world. And so IB just happens to be one of them. IB, if you do have the opportunity to be a part of the program, is a fantastic program where when you are taking some of those courses, depending on the school and university that you apply to in the United States, you might be gaining some college credit. That means the work that you've done in Costa Rica might actually give you credit at a US university. So for example, at the University of Colorado-Boulder, if you actually graduate with the full IB diploma, you are going to come in with 24 credit hours automatically. So just by gaining the diploma, you come in with 24 credit hours. One thing that I feel like I need to break down is credit hours. So you gain credits for every course you take in university, and you have to have a good number of them to graduate with your degree. For example, let's say the College of Arts and Sciences. In 4 years, you need to gain 120 credit hours. And if you break that down into each year, that's 30 per year. And coming in with 24 credit hours automatically with the IB diploma means that you will have completed nearly 1 full year of work. So there's a little bit more that goes into that. We'll get into depth with that about how it applies. Will it be an elective course? Will it be a core course? Will it be a major course? All of that conversation can happen once you're done applying. But the good news is that you've done college level work. This also is true for AP. Now, if you have not completed the full diploma and you've completed a couple of courses, some of our schools will still grant credit for those each individual courses that you completed. So it just depends on the university. But I think the good news is that you've done a really great level of work that is potentially college credit granting.
Good, very good. Yes. So as Sarah said, you do not have to have an IB diploma to apply to school in the United States. For example, we didn't have IB at my high school. I still went to college in the States. So just keep that in mind. So our final question for today, because so we often talked about how the geographical location is an important thing to take into consideration when you're deciding where to go, right? So sometimes I have Costa Rican students that tell me that they wouldn't do well in the snow. And I said, well, you should really consider that then when you're looking at options. And I try and convince them that the snow is fun. But one of the questions was, do universities help international students visit nearby towns and attractions? Because I don't think I will have a car, but the geographic location is also important, as you said.
I can definitely answer this just to close it out. But I think, yes, it might vary by institution. But for example, I can definitely speak to what the U of O might do. But we do have a specific organization that it's, called the Outdoor Club, but really it takes into account like many activities that can be done all over the state of Oregon. So whether that is getting multiple bands of students and going camping over in the Cascade Mountains, or going to the coast, or a town like that. There's opportunities like that to help all students, but I would say specifically those who are not familiar with the state of Oregon or who are not from the region, to really get acquainted with the environment and the new environment that they're in. So I can imagine that all of us will have some sort of club or organization like that allows students to really get to know the area that they're in. But also, I think we all are located in very accessible cities, and so you don't really need to have a car to get anywhere. There's always going to be public transportation, or bikes all over the city, or buses, trains, whatever it might be. You should be fine without a car. That's really not a requirement to study, I think, in any of our institutions, and still get the opportunity to explore many different places in the state or in the area.
Awesome. Yes. And you can probably also become friends with someone who does have a car and then travel to nearby states and go on road trips and things like that. So I believe Shannon just switched the page to give you guys all of the email addresses for the representatives that we're presenting today. If you have specific questions about their institution, please feel free to send them an email. You can let them know that you're from Costa Rica and you participated in the webinar, and I know that they would be happy to assist you in this. Thank you so much to all 5 of you for this wonderful presentation and resource. Again, if you have any questions about Education USA Costa Rica and how to apply to schools in the United States, you can email us at educationusa@centrocultural.cr. This is being recorded. Reach out to us if you would like the recording as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon and happy St. Patrick's Day.